All right, good afternoon. So my name is Adrian Pearce, and today I will be presenting my DuPont project for Finance 301 for this online class with Dr. Amity Chatterjee here at the Jesse H. Jones School of Business at Texas Southern University. So for my abstract, a company's finances can be analyzed in many different ways by many different people. So most of those people use 5 various financial ratios to do so. Those ratios are profitability, leverage, market value, liquidity, and efficiency. In this DuPont project, I'll be evaluating the financial performance of Grubhub, which is a food delivery company that's been doing very well for the past few years and seems to be growing every day. So for the introduction, Grubhub started out as a merger between 2 companies in 2013. The first company, Seamless, was founded in 1999. And that was founded by a man named Jason Finger. In 2004, a man by the name of Matthew Maloney, I believe, along with his friend Michael Evan, founded Grubhub. And they did that as like a kind of a paper menu replacement service. So they would have like electronic menus instead of paper menus. And in 2013, that's when the 2 companies merged, and they began publicly trading on the New York Stock Exchange, in 2014 with GRUB, Grub, as their ticker symbol. And Grubhub became extremely successful over the years in what kind of seemed like a monopolistic kind of approach, the way they bought out all the other food service companies, like food delivery companies, and just got more and more funding over the years from outside people. So my ratio analysis here, my ratios right here. One of the first ratios we see is the current ratio. And for the current ratio helps investors and creditors understand like the liquidity of a company and how easily that company will be able to pay off its current liabilities. So this ratio, it kind of expresses a firm's current debt in terms of like current assets. So a current ratio of 4 would mean that a company has 4 times as more current assets than current liabilities. Here we see Grubhub has a current ratio of 1.63, which means it has pretty much 1.5 times, a little over 1.5 times more than it has liabilities, like assets than it has liabilities. For the second company that I had, theirs was 2.6 for 2018. So they had well over twice as many assets than they did liabilities. And as you can see for Grubhub, it started out at 1.6 and then it raised to, actually, that's 2018. So it was 1.6 in 2018, so it was 2 in 2017, 3.5 in 2016, and 3.9 in 2015. So it seems like the number has been steadily going down, but they're still a very successful company. Yeah. So another ratio we have after that is the quick ratio. For the quick ratio, or it's also known as the asset test ratio, is a liquidity ratio that measures the ability of a company to pay its current liabilities when they come due with only quick assets. Quick assets are like current assets that can be converted to cash within 90 days. So, or like within a very short term, not necessarily 90 days, but maybe even shorter. So things like cash equivalents, short-term investments, marketable securities, or current account receivables are considered quick assets. So for the quick ratio for Grubhub, their quick ratio in 2015 was 3.9, and then it's pretty much just like the current ratio. It started out at 3.9, then steadily went down to 3.4 to 2, and then to 1.5. And with the other company that I was doing, it started out at 1, and it actually went up to 1.18, and then to 3.2, and then significantly dropped back down to 1.37. Another ratio that I'll be talking about is the days sales outstanding ratio, or days sales outstanding. And the days sales outstanding calculation, also called the average
average collection period, or days sales and receivable, measures the number of days it takes a company to collect cash from its credit sales. So this calculation shows the liquidity and efficiency of a company's collections department. In other words, it shows how well a company can collect cash from its customers. The sooner cash can be collected, the sooner cash can be used for other operations, and also the sooner cash can be paid out to stockholders, like dividends wise, things like that. So both liquidity and cash flows increase with a lower days sales outstanding measurement. So the days sales outstanding formula shows investors and creditors how well companies can collect cash from their customers. Obviously, sales don't matter if cash can never be collected. So if you're selling stuff and never getting the money for it, you're definitely gonna go out of business. This ratio shows the number of days it takes a company to convert its sales into cash. So a lower ratio is more favorable because it means companies collect cash earlier from customers and can use this cash for other operations. It also shows that the accounts receivable are good and won't be written off as bad debts. Because when things are written off as bad debts, that means that money can no longer be received, like at all, not at present time or in the future later on. So a higher ratio indicates that a company with poor collection procedures and customers who are unable or just unwilling to pay for their purchases. Companies with high days sales ratios are unable to convert sales into cash as quickly as firms with lower ratios. And this is calculated by doing accounts receivable divided by net credit sales, and then multiplying that by 365, that whole entire equation by 365. Or you can take the accounts receivable and divide that by net credit sales divided by 365, which is basically just the number of days in a year. So if we look at the two companies that we have here, the days sales outstanding ratio for 2018 was 80 days. For 2017, it was 102 days. So for it to go down from 102 days to 80 days, that means customers were paying a lot faster than the previous year, meaning the company was getting its money faster, so it was doing better than before. And the delivery company, which is the German company, theirs also went down as well from 141 to 94, which means that the customers, as I stated previously, were paying for their merchandise or items or whatever they were selling a lot faster, so the company was getting their money a lot faster. Right. Also, with the days sales outstanding, you really want to try as hard as possible to get that down to a minimum of 50 days. Because if you can get that to 50 days, that means your company is just really, really efficient and just working as fast as it possibly can to receive its money. So if a company receives its money basically as fast as it's giving these items out, the company is always going to be successful and always going to be profiting, and it's just going to be a great company. The third ratio that we see is the cash ratio, and for that ratio, the cash ratio or cash coverage ratio is a liquidity ratio that measures a firm's ability to pay off its current liabilities with only cash and cash equivalents. So the cash ratio is more restrictive than the current ratio or quick ratio because no other current assets can be used to pay off debt. Like it's literally only cash. So if they don't have the cash to pay off these certain things, then that will show, and that'll reflect, and people will be able to tell, and that's something that helps people decide whether or not they will want to invest in that company. That's why these financial statements are really important. So for the cash ratio, Grubhub started out at 1.8, which is almost 2 in 2015, and then it did get up to 2 in 2016, which is pretty good, so they can pay off. So then it dropped to 1.3, and then it jumped again to 0.9. And that's it for the cash ratio. And all these numbers that we're seeing, I'm getting from the financial statements, which we will find right about here. So right here, we have the first financial statement, which is the balance sheet for Grubhub. Then we have the income statement. So on the balance sheet, we see things like cash equivalents, short-term investments, accounts receivables, income tax receivable, prepaid expenses, things like that, retained earnings, stockholders' equity, pretty much everything that you really need to know about the company you will find on the balance sheet. Then on the income statement, that's where it shows the revenue, cost of revenue, which is pretty much like cost of goods sold, and gross profit. Gross profit is the money that they made after expenses, pretty much, after like the regular expenses. Then after the regular expenses, we have operating expenses, which are the expenses that you need to pay to be able to run the business. So for operating expenses, they have selling and general administrative. And for total operating expenses, they had $909,000 in 2018. So the operating income was $97,341. Then there's income from continuing operations, which total income was $15,000, which would actually be an expense because it's a negative $15,000. And earnings before interest and taxes shows $97,000. So the interest expense after that was $7,500, and income before tax was $81,433, and this is all for 2018. And the minority interest was there, so the net income from continuing operations was $78,481. And then after that, that was just the net income for that year because there was no other factors in that. But all the things on the income statement pretty much play a role into each other. Like you can't do one thing without the other. So you need everything to be in the right order for things to either be added or subtracted for you to get the next number that you need and for you to find out what you need for the next year. And that was the income statement for Grubhub. This is the balance sheet for the company that I was comparing it to. It's a German company that pretty much does the same thing. It's called Delivery. And the income statement for that company, as you can see, all these numbers are negative because this is their net income, but when it's a negative number, that's actually a net loss. So in 2015, they lost $244,000 and some change. In 2016, they did a little bit better, but they still lost over $100,000, almost $200,000. In 2017, I don't know what happened, but they lost $345,000. And then they finally started doing a little better in 2018, where they only lost $38,000, but it's still a significant loss. And that's just on their income statement. On their balance sheet, you can pretty much see where all these numbers are coming from and where they are making money, where they aren't making money, their current assets, current liabilities, and how their current liabilities may be outweighing their current assets. The cash flow statements for the company are right here. And then we have a comparison of all the other companies in the industry. Like businesses like Apple, Microsoft, HP, all of these were companies that we compared the financials to. And that's pretty much it for my presentation. I want to thank you for watching. And one second, for my conclusion, I would like to say that in conclusion, Grubhub is definitely more liquid than the individual company that I compared it to, which was that German delivery company. But I wouldn't say that it's more liquid than all other standard companies in the industry. The company is very efficient, and it seems as though the company's efficiency has grown tremendously throughout the last 4 years. And I would absolutely have to agree that Grubhub surpasses many other industries when it comes to profitability, because very few resources have to be utilized in order to operate the business and generate large amounts of money on a